The role of captain at Trinity Grammar School is a time-honoured honour, responsibility and acknowledgement of leadership. We as a school have been very well served this year by our school captain, and I have great confidence that the school captain for 2021 will continue that tradition. At this point in time, gentlemen, I will ask Spiro Christopoulos, captain of 2020, to present the school captain's badge to Jamie Christopoulos, school captain 2021. Will you please acknowledge them both?
Well, Spiro, your time as school captain, is coming to a close now. It's come to a close, and mine's just about to begin. What tips do you have for me?
Look, it is a big role, very significant honour, and there are quite a few tips and tricks that I've given to some of the vice and yourself, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. The first one is delegation. Make sure you delegate. There is a lot of responsibility, but make sure you delegate. Use the people around you, and through the portfolio system that works really well. The second one is to allocate your time. Well, time management's a hard one because late nights, early starts, juggling commitments outside of school hours when you're at home. So make sure you allocate your time well, and work to a list. Make sure you've got a list. Even for me at times, throughout the year, I sort of got lost because I wasn't working to a list and I didn't write things down. Even up to last night, like the responsibility still goes on. After you might have graduated, I just went to the desk before I went to bed and I wrote two things down because otherwise I'll forget. So make sure you write stuff down because there's a lot of things that will come your way that you don't want to forget.
And they're good little skills for like study and for for everything in life going forward. So that's good. It's been, I think it's year 14 now at Trinity for you. What would you say, or to reminisce a bit, what are your fondest memories and your greatest experiences over those 14 years here at Trinity?
For me, probably the prep school days were my favourite. Started back there in 07, but my favourite years at the prep were year 3, 4, 5, 6, so sort of primary, not infants. And I loved those years, from the unit of inquiries to the camps, to the classes, to some of the teachers. I had just really memorable years, years that I really enjoyed a lot, and that I remember, in the years to come. And also my high school years, senior high school years, so 10, 11, 12, most notably 11 and 12 were fantastic. Even with the setbacks and COVID and whatever we've had this year, I still got so much out of year 12. I've loved it. It's been great to be the captain, but even our valedictory week, just fantastic. The school went to such a great effort, and from the zinger burgers to the coffee cart to the assembly to the montage to all the things that went on, it was just such a memorable, fantastic week for all of us involved.
I'm sure it was. And just to touch on what you said briefly about this year, the current state that we're in, it's been quite a challenging year for everybody in the world, but specifically looking at you and as the captain of an organisation as such, how have you overcome those many challenges that you've been faced with?
I think the key for me is looking at 2020 as an opportunity to obviously be positive, but as an opportunity rather than a setback. Opportunity to learn, to get more out of the year, to enjoy it, but also to gain skills for life, and things that we would have been able to experience in 2020 has better equipped us for life after school. Vast number of things, whether it be working from home, doing meetings online, communicating and responding to adversity, because there was so much unpredictability about the year, from an academic point of view, from a sport co-curricular point of view, from a leadership point of view. So remaining positive and optimistic, but using this year as a real a learning year for me, and it really has helped and equipped me well for what lies ahead post school.
Well, I've seen, living with you and being at home, there's been a lot of setbacks and a lot of major things that have been cancelled, whatever, this year. I'm really proud, and you've really come up with ways to combat those and to try and turn, as you said, a largely negative situation into what can, the positives that can come out of it, which is, it's amazing. It's credit to you.
Enough about me, now onto you. What do you expect from the year? It's a big, as I said, it's a big honour to be the captain of a school like Trinity. But what are you sort of expecting? What are you looking forward to, and what do you expect the year will be like for you in 2021?
Well, I think first of all, it's a astounding opportunity that I've been given, and that the school has given to both of us, that I'm very grateful for. And I think that this year, similarly to your year, we have to prepare for essentially the worst in terms of restrictions and what can and what can't happen. But at the same time, it's a unique opportunity to kind of make it our own and to put a different and try and get the same message that has been brought across for years in the past, and to get that across through a different means, which is in compliance with the restrictions and whatnot. But I'm really looking forward to continuing the work and the foundation that you guys have set, your great prefect group in 2020, and but putting our own little twist, our own little spin on it.
Touching on that a little bit more, obviously, I think, not being biased, but in all seriousness, the group of school officers in 2020 have been so proactive, and I think
For sure.
because the portfolio system sort of improved and got better, we were very proactive, from the student senate to school culture boys to assemblies and keynotes, building on what years before us have done. What ideas are you guys going to bring to the table that are new? Just give us a bit of a hint as to what things your cohort are going to be looking to do differently to what we might have done.
Well, I don't want to give too much away yet, but we have our areas of focus for the year, which have surprisingly already have been conducted and already been started. One which you were saying, one which we really want to, or we have a great emphasis on, is continuation, and we want to try and continue, as you were saying, that great foundation that's been laid by your boys. We want to continue that through this year, which will subsequently continue to the years to come. Specifically, the Student Senate, which is a great means of student voice, which we're currently working quite hard at to continue, and to obviously this year didn't get brought to fruition to the full extent which they would have liked, the boys that were focusing on that. But we want to try and continue that great means of student voice for the years to come. That's one small area that we want to do, but as well as that, community in terms of our prep and junior relations and the pathways between our primary schools and the senior school, to try and smoothen out that transition already, that it's already quite smooth, but to even further and put our own twist on it. And as well as that, I think the culture that you guys were building on last year, we want to try and extend that into all facets of school life, for the years ahead and going forward.
Old boys is something that I know that you want to focus on a little bit more on the boys. So what sort of things, what ideas have you got going into 2021 for our old boys who actually missed quite a lot in 2020 and were quite disappointed? I got messages and words of feedback saying that they were disappointed they missed out on Old Boys Day. But what ideas do you have in the works for next year?
Well, I think one of the big events in the school calendar, specifically for rugby, is the OTU, the Old Boys Day, where we fill up the terrace room and the library with years and generations of old boys that have played rugby and have enjoyed the sport at the school. And my idea and my vision going forward is that I'd like to have that. Obviously, I think rugby would be the biggest out of all the sports, but I'd like to have that that kind of event for all sports, and even extending out from a sporting sense for something like debating or music, or to extend it to all facets of school life. But yeah, that OTU relations and an Old Boys Day for for each of the sports and and some of the co-curriculars like music, debating, I feel is quite important. I'd like to make that happen.
What makes that OTU relationship so special, and why do you think that it's so important? Obviously, we've had Mr. Bishop running the program for quite a few years, but what makes it such an important part of our DNA here at Trinity?
Well, I think as a lot of us and a lot of the boys have, you go through this system for majority of your life. We discussed before, we've spoken about in the past, how majority of our lifetime has been, at this school. And, people might find it hard or to let go and to remove themselves from such a rich and a vast community which they were involved in for many years. But that sense of community and essentially family, I feel through the OTU can be expressed to old boys and can be continued, not beyond your 14 or 2 or even 6 years at Trinity. It can be, expressed and continued throughout one's lifespan, which is very important, I feel.
In terms of things that maybe we did wrong or we didn't do as well, what feedback would you have for me and my group on the whole as to what we could have done differently and could have changed to make it a more smooth year?
Well, to be completely honest, you guys had, I think as we all know, you guys had a very, very challenging year. So many roadblocks and hurdles unexpectedly were put in front of you guys, which, to be expected, it's very hard to adapt. Rather than negative feedback, I'd say it's more of a congratulations as to you and the vices, so it was Ethan, Josh and Lewis specifically, but the whole group, your ability to adapt to those, it's the ever-changing current climate of the world and of our state specifically, and still, make it an enjoyable and beneficial year as a leadership group, which I think that characteristic, for my group now, we have time. We could be in this current situation for a very long time, but we know what's happened before us, and we can plan forward. You guys were adapting to what fell in front of you, which is a big commendation and a big credit to your boys and to you guys as a group.
Last Friday was the first day that there weren't any Year 12s around. Tell us a little bit about that feeling and what it was like without the seniors of the school being here.
Well, personally, I didn't really. I found it quite strange, and I know a lot of the boys in my year did. We are quite tight and quite close with your year. A lot of us have had relations through sport, co-curricular, whatever, just general everyday life. Have had a lot of relations with the guys in your year, and it was a weird sense of eeriness around the school. Just an absence of your presence and absence of the presence of your year. It was quite strange, but look, it's something that we're going to have to get used to now. And we're now our year's essentially the head of not the head, but the oldest year in the school, and we're going to have to get used to it pretty quickly, I think.
The last question is focused on sort of our family and our roots.
Yeah.
First of all, beginning with our grandfather and the sacrifice he made, and why what he went through has sort of encouraged us to make the most of our school journey more than we would have if it wasn't for his sacrifice and his journey. But also our parents, it's important to focus on their values and foundations, and although we might not have liked what they would have said all the time, it really has helped us develop into who we are today, right?
For sure. Well, I think starting with our grandfather, as we say in Greek, Apu, he sacrificed a lot to come over to Australia. He, one of 8 siblings in Greece, as we know, and it was a big commitment for him to come over here. Not knowing the language, not being educated, which is a big one, and no real financial backing behind him. The story is, or as he says a lot, he came to Australia with £2 in his pocket to save it for a rainy day. And legend has it that that £2 is still in an envelope underneath his bed today.
Indeed,
But he came over knowing nothing, and essentially he came over here for greener grass and for a better opportunity. And for him to have 13 grandchildren now, all to be educated, a lot are older now, which are, you know, they're in the workforce, whether that be in medicine, in business, in whatever field they're in. It's a big achievement. It's a big deal for him, as you know. I'll let you touch on now.
Yeah, big inspirational motivator in our lives and biggest role model. To come here with nothing and build an empire, it's just massive. And I think we have made the most of our journey more knowing that, you know, he didn't get a proper education. He was the only sibling that wasn't allowed to go to school, and his destiny was in business and being an entrepreneur. And, you know, a lot of emotions, a lot of stories we heard when we went last year going back there, that, you know, he was sort of the son that didn't get the opportunities that his other siblings got. But gee, what a great achievement for him, seeing you know, these generations in Australia now having one of our cousins even have a baby. It's a massive thing. So seeing the contribution that he's made, just huge.
It's
Parents,
massive. Again, mum and dad have had a big influence as well. You know, people may not know, but how we grew up as well in in dad's fruit shop, specifically the one in St Leonard's on the train station. And the hard thing for us, we were you know, young kids, and you know, we'd spend all our days there. In the holidays, and you know, other kids would be going out or going on holidays, go to the movies, go this, that, whatever. But you know, we at the time didn't really understand. But I feel like now we appreciate, or we understand, and we are, you know, eternally grateful for that sacrifice that our dad made. But at the time, you know, we were young. We were waking up with him at, you know, 3:30. Go to the markets, then go to the shop and get there by, you know, 4:30. Open the doors 5 o'clock, and get home at, you know, 6:30, 7 o'clock. So they were long days, but the accountability, the discipline that we learnt from that really, you know, I feel like it assisted us, you know, going forward and into a school sense, trying to apply those principles to everything that we do here at Trinity, and, you know, understanding the sacrifice, which, you know, a part of that is, you know, putting your hat in the ring for everything you can here. But looking back on it now, that experience in the shop and you know, being there, the little things we used to do, they're quite good and quite fond memories of mine. I'm sure they are for, you know, for you as well.
Yeah, and I think you know, sometimes tough parenting is sort of frowned upon or criticised, but the reality is parents need to be firm but fair. And yeah, that fair element is really important, but you need to be firm. You need to instill these values in your kids. And I think, you know, looking back at the job that mum and dad have done with us, is just, you know, you've got to instill values from your kids from a young age, and right from the start treat them you know, treat them like they're adults, and treat them with respect, because it will pay off in the long term, like it has with us. And and the skills in the shop definitely paying off with work. You know, great to see that from a beginning of year 11 you got a job at Puma, and you developed a great reputation there, and I'll be joining you.
You will be. We'll still be working next year.
Still be a part of the same institution for a little while.
And the irony of it is that, you know, our grandfather, Papu, his first job, you know, was in the Dunlop tyre factory, which is now Birkenhead Point. And that's now our first place of work as well, outside of, you know, our family businesses. Well,
in wrapping up, Jamie, I wish you all the best for next year. Very exciting. I'm keen to see how you guys go as a group and the legacy and mark that you leave. You know, a few words of advice. The first is to be your own person. You've got to where you are, not because you're my brother, because you are Jamie, and I'm keen to see the spin that you take on the captaincy next year, and just enjoy it. It's a really enjoyable opportunity, an enjoyable year that you really will never get again. You'll never be able to lead a school again, so just enjoy the year, be your own person, and yeah, I think it's a bit of a bonus for the school, because we're in the same room, our desks are close. If you ever got a question or piece of advice, always straight there to help you, but it's your role, and enjoy the year.
And for you, you know, a big journey, 14 years, coming to an end. Well done. It was a great, specifically this year, amazing job, fantastic, you know, to lead the school through such a uncertain and tough time. It's a credit to you and a credit to your leadership group. But But yeah, looking forward to, you know, times ahead, and very exciting.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for the chat. Good luck.